did some NARA record research on the original owner of the house, and was what his full name, Andrew Jackson Clark. And he built the very first section of the house, which is kind of behind you there, in 1867. And so he was one of the first houses in Osceola. When he built that house there was, of course, a separate building for the kitchen. There was a small stable here and a workshop. And so he had quite a bit of acreage here. The remainder of River Street, which is behind us. River Street is one of the oldest streets in Osceola. It was called Spring Street, and it was called a couple different names through the ages. It was, of course, since it was on the bluff above the river, that's where the elite of Osceola of the 1880s or 60s to 80s lived. You know, most of them. The judge and the doctor lived a little bit farther back, 2 blocks back, but otherwise all of the Kents owned all of the property. And what happened was, I found out because my folks had a small house down here, and when I researched their home, it turned out that 663 acres of this property was a land grant to a Civil War soldier. And he never built here. He just got the land and found out what a great place it was and started selling it off. And that's where the Kents came to Osceola, and they were lumber barons and clear cut it, and that led to steamboats, and steamboats were built in Osceola.
They could slide right down the bluff to their steamboat.
Right. I don't know, have any of you been down to the Cascade Falls?
Yeah.
Okay. That whole glen has been re-cleared again, and a new path all the way down to the river with bridges across the creek. And that's where the steamboats were built. So you can actually get down there. For a lot of years you couldn't do that, but we were lucky enough to have that done. So there's a lot of history in Osceola, and we're kind of like the unsung hero, I think, of Polk County. Nobody really knows all the things that happened. But the house here again, the reason we call it Emily Olson House is because Emily Olson was one of the relatives, of course, of Kent. She was actually a Kent, and they ended up with a house over the years. She donated it to this village of Osceola as a library. She had been a librarian out in California her whole career, but moved back here, and she felt, of course, very strong, since she was a librarian, that Osceola should have their own library. So when she donated the house, they added this kitchen, and so that's like another addition. Then when the village accepted it, you know, it was run by the Osceola Women's Club for years. When they got rid of it and gave it to the village, and the village finally decided to give us some money, and yes, we should have a library and we should support it, they built the room behind us. We use that back room just as a very small meeting room, and it's kind of become our research room. And so what I have been doing with, I've been doing a complete inventory of everything that we have here, for one thing. And that's been quite a chore. And I did copy you all. I'll give you a current copy. I've got some more additions to make to the one I gave you before. The resources that we have available for genealogical research or whatever. I keep finding more, and so I keep adding to the list, and we're going to get it filled out. But the inventories of our pictures, slides, anything like that, we're keeping in the bookshelf back here. So if somebody gives us a request for historical research, usually they give them to me. Otherwise, one of the other members of the Historical Society, whoever has the time or the wherewithal that they can do it, and then we can come and we can do some research. And there's several different ways we can research our information. Before computers, the group that was the Historical Society did everything in paper. So we don't have all that transferred over to digital base. So we have to go to Cardex files, but the Cardex files are usually by people's names, and we can locate that, or businesses or whatever. We have copies of the local newspapers sorted, pulled apart and sorted by business names, organizations, whatever. Those are in the back room. Those have been digitized, and my sister, I have to give her due. Linda Jensen Gordon took all the Osceola Sun newspapers originals home. She started when we were in high school, and she was doing it manually with a legal yellow pad. And that's what she was doing. She copied articles about all of the addresses in town, all of the people's names in town, and then she sorted them by topic. Banks, hospitals, clubs, parks, everything.
What a job.
Well, when she finally got her first computer, which was the size of the table, she started putting it in a Word format. So, bless her heart, she kept updating it, and her husband helped her over the years, and so we have that on disc. And she had it sorted again by address in Osceola. So if you have an address in Osceola, you want to find out what that house was, we can go to that, and then you can read everything in the Osceola Sun about that address. Or if you just had like doctors, you could go and she has it sorted by doctors. And so she did a lot of work over the years. And like I said, she was only about this high. And these books are, that big by that big, and they weigh 2 tons. And she'd come trudge them home with, 2 or 3 of these books. And she'd sit in her room and work on those things. So that is one of the, I think, the key things. We use that a lot, for finding information about people, because you find fun things there. You find about the people's lives and what they were doing and what was happening in Osceola. So those are a good research tool.
Osceola was the first county seat, too.
Yes, we had the first county seat. We have 5 properties in Osceola that are on the National Register, and our downtown is actually on the National Register of Historic Downtowns. So that's why I wish it was a nicer day and a different day of the week. We need to spend a day in Osceola, and then somebody will be at the depot too, because I don't have my key to the depot anymore. And Cindy was going to let us in, and then she told me last night, no, I guess I can't be there after all. So we can't get in the depot, but if we have 10 or more people, I can get us a discount for tickets. So we could all have a day riding the train. And then, we could have lunch at the watershed right on the top of the Cascade Falls, but they're not open on Monday.
Yeah.
So we have to do it on a different day of the week.
So the name Osceola, I assume it came from the Native Americans. Who?
It had originally called Leroy. And then they changed
town?
it. Leroy. Then they named it Osceola Mills. And personally, I wish we'd go back to Osceola
I do
Mills.
too. I think that's really cool.
But everybody looks at me like I'm nuts, And in fact, we finally did, I think Linda helped me do that. We did a kind of a survey what would cost the village to change the name. And it was like $1 million, because they have to change so much. So that went down the tubes. So,
Well, when you win the lottery.
yes, yeah, that's a good idea. So what can I tell you about the house then? Again, it's owned by the Osceola Historical Society. It is a very small group. We only have about 30 members. And they're not real active members. So anybody who wants to join, we'd love to have you. we owned this property, and we owned the depot, the Sioux Line Depot. We bought the depot in, I'm trying to think of what year it was, 70, when did I do that? Probably 75, 76. I came back from college and joined the Historical Society, and I saw what our depot looked like and had a fit, and so I went to the meetings, and I said, why haven't you done anything about it? You know, because Emily Olson also gave a nice trust fund to help manage the house. And they were so frugal about spending $10 on anything. I said, you've got some money, let's save the depot, and they didn't want to do it. And so I said, well, why don't we buy the depot? Because it had been abandoned, and it had been leased out to different people, but it was in horrible shape. And I took pictures, and I came back to the board, and I said, you gotta do something. And they said, well, you go ahead. if you can buy it, go ahead. You know, and these were the banker, the doctor in town, and everything. They're the ones that told me I was a girl, so I couldn't be on the board. So, within a year, I bought the depot. And so I came back to them and I said, you know, I'm not on the board, you're on the board, you have to sign the contract. The depot's ours. And they had a fit. And they said, well, you can't do that. And I said, I already did. So we bought it for $1. And
Good price.
well, they panicked, they didn't know what to do with it. It was kind of like the same thing that happened with a house. We didn't know how to turn it into a museum. You know, they knew how to get it, and they had the money to maintain it. But how do you set it up to interpret Osceola? And so they wanted the depot then to be a restaurant. I wanted it to run trains. And I knew MTM, the Minnesota Transportation Museum, was having trouble in Stillwater at the time because the people had built up houses along the golf course where their track was. And I had read an article in the Stillwater Gazette about it. So I wrote a letter. I didn't tell the board I did it. I just wrote a letter to them, to their director, and invited them to come and run trains in Osceola. And we created, between that group and the Historical Society and the village of Osceola, got all these people together, and we created the Osceola St. Croix Valley Railway. And we've been running trains now here for 20, this will be the 27th year.
Wow.
And the depot is 150 years old this summer. So we are having a big celebration. The Historical Society is kind of spearheading the whole celebration, but we're going to include different things in different groups. In Osceola, there's going to be trail things. It's river rails and trails. I think we're calling it again.
Are the bankers and
so it's going to be lots of stuff going on.
are the bankers and doctors still around? That okay? They're
Yeah.
good.
So we've got a lot going on this summer between the depot. They started running trains up there the first weekend in May. And there's everything from regular excursion trains between Osceola Marine and back, and then to Dresser Depot and back. And now we have the Dresser Depot open as well. So you can visit 2 different depots.
When they go across the river, where do they cross to go to Marine?
The Cedar Bend Drawbridge, drawbridge.
Not the high bridge.
No. This is the other bridge, the low bridge. It's a actually it is a turn bridge, but they don't open it anymore. It's they call it Cedar Bend. I don't know, Cedar Bend. It's just down. It's down from Buffalo Skull, down from Bethania, about another 1.5 miles down past Bethania is where the Cedar Bend is. You can get down there to walk and see it too if you want to.
But it's fun to take the train. My former DAR group came up and went on it. They were from St. Croix Falls.
Uh-huh.
Oh, it was fun.
It was built in 1887 too, when the trains came through. So, anyway, it's a very neat old bridge. So lots to do in Osceola. Historical society for very few people. If we get our mind to it, we can do some pretty neat things. So, I guess that's the moral of the story. But
When is this house normally open?
pardon?
When would this house be open?
On Saturday afternoons, usually it's open from noon to 2:30.
Oh,
That's what we've been doing.
okay.
You know, if we could get more volunteers, we would, we would do more.
Vicki,
We
did
do
you-
have a
But
book.
if you were interested in doing some research and stuff, you could just contact somebody
Mhm.
and then
Sure.
make an appointment, that's what I wanna say.
Yeah.
Sure, you can do that, or you can come in on a Saturday. Usually we had, where are our sheets here?
Because that girl was trying to get in for 2 years.
We don't, I got some sheets about the history of the house. We usually have some membership stuff in here and
Oh, yeah.
contact. I've got the train ride information. What happened to, I will get that for you. I'll get that for you.
Vicki, did you say that the depot and dresser is functioning now too?
Do what?
Did you say the depot and dresser is functioning?
Well, with Wisconsin Central, the CN still uses it, but they let us go in on weekends.
Oh, okay.
So you can at least see what it's like.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of like in Spooner, you can
Yeah,
have
it's a
pizza,
Very small.
brunch. That's cool.
Let's see. How about, I'm gonna give you,
Father's Day, Mother's Day.
there.
Thank you.
You can email me and I will get the information to you, okay?
So do you still have some money left in your original endowment or whatever it is, so that you can keep the building?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, it's been enough for the Historical Society to continue just operating costs and things like that. And then, of course, we were like everybody else, we had it in CDs and everything, and we went real well for a while, and now it's not doing anything. And so for years, we could just live off the interest. And that's how we made a budget, was how much interest we were gonna have from the year. But that hasn't been the case for a while now.
Do it in the stock market.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. When we had the bankers on the board and some of those kind of people, they had the wherewithal that they could do a lot of investing for us.
Yeah.
And we just don't have those kind of people anymore involved. So what we've done with the house here, again, the back room is kind of our research. The actual picture inventory, photo inventory, and postcards are upstairs. We call it lovingly our picture room, and it's a mess. We decided to paint that room last summer, and everything that was in that room got thrown up there on the floor. And so I'm still kind of sorting through stuff like that and trying to bring stuff back and get things sorted out. But the pictures that we have in inventory are all in acid-free sleeves in 3-ring binders. And then again, the indexes are here, so we can look on those first and know what the number is, and then we know what 3-ring binders are, and look at them to find the actual pictures. And we do let people check out photos to get copies made or whatever, and then bring back again. The same with the postcards. We have a whole wall in that room of clothes cabinets that we just got inventoried last winter. Will Staub did that for us and put them on data. They are the Justice of the Peace records from Osceola.
Oh, my.
And they go through, all the way up to the 30s, or what did he say, 60s, I think, all the way to the 60s.
Is that right?
And they were in ledger books, of course they are. So he put those all on disc for us, so that's a new acquisition that we have. We have a lot of old accounting and business records that, all we can do, I got Will to write down a list for me of what's up there. So they're just kept in closed cabinets. And we assume they were just given to the Historical Society over the years. A lot of them from the 1880s through probably the 20s. We have a back bedroom. There's 3 rooms up there. The back bedroom is actually set up as a sleeping bedroom with a period bed and some chairs and everything. And the 3rd bedroom is just used as a storage area. It's where we have, we don't have a lot of textile type of artifacts. We do have some, and those are in acid-free boxes with the proper tissue and everything. So those are stored up there. Have yearbooks from every year from Osceola High School, and we don't know what to do with. So unfortunately, that room is another one that has just got piles and piles of stuff over the years. So we kind of try to maintain just a few different displays down here in the house that reflect Osceola. We haven't made a lot of changes to them over the years. We do add to them if we get something new from people. And since I'm on the archive committee, I resurrected our program and we follow through the procedures to accept something. Unfortunately, in the past, we've never rejected anything. And so that leads us to have just more stuff upstairs and all around. And so we really do need to be a little bit better about just accepting things that are really pertinent to Osceola.
Except that now that you have the reputation of accepting things, people give. Otherwise, if you get the reputation of being snooty, then they give you nothing. And once in a while, you really get a treasure.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have to worry about that too much. But.
Well, and then if you have a thing on there that says that, like I think over at Luck we do, that we may in the future decide, you've given it to us, and we may, if we have duplicates or something, we might get rid of it.
Yeah, and I've got that on a form now that they all signed.
Yeah.
But they were taking them without giving any receipts whatsoever.
Oh,
they
yeah.
were just taking stuff. They'd show up and say, here.
And then the worst thing is when somebody comes in and says, well, my grandmother gave you this thing, and then we always say, well, we know we have it, but we're not quite sure where.
It was one of the Saturdays, unfortunately, that I was volunteering here, and this guy showed up and he said he was an Olson. And he said, we gave you one of a prescription bottle with my great-grandfather's name on it, and we want it back. And he was, I couldn't figure out who he was or what he was doing because he was just looking at everything and picking stuff up and looking, and finally asked him, and that's what he wanted. And of course, everything had been done in paper in those days, not in the computer. So we finally found it, but it took some hunting to do it. So in this room, we have just a few displays. We'll give you a chance to look around a little bit about some of our medical, dental is over here. The Oddfellows were very popular, and since Osceola was the first county seat, and talk about shenanigans at the county level, that's how they moved the county seat from Osceola to Balsam Lake. They did it in an emergency meeting in the middle of the night in winter, and nobody but the Balsam Lake people could get there. And so they voted out Osceola, and then the Osceola people could make it to the meeting, and so the next day they find out that they stole their village, or their county seat. And everybody was in an uproar here. But our the building downtown Main Street on the corner was the old county seat, and the jailhouse used to stand as a separate building right down behind it. So the Oddfellows were a group that were pretty much county-wide, but they were based here in Osceola at that time too. So we have a little bit of information about them. The Osceola Women's Club really is one of the, 4 founding organizations of Osceola. It's amazing when you look at the Osceola Women's Club of what they accomplished. And I was a member for quite a few years, and it's unfortunate that it doesn't exist anymore. Because they really did a lot of community projects, that group. And again, they helped, they ran the library. Without them, we wouldn't have been able to take the building and start the library too, so.
There were fellows in Ohio too, I mean, it's a national group, right?
Right,
Almost.
yeah, they were all
Kind of
affiliated
odd.
with them. And we have some information about the original banks back there. And there's some little things, just mementos and things that we've gotten from the banks over the years. And of course, we couldn't be here without having a Bethania display. So, we have a little bit of Bethania, and again, that's where I grew up.
So do you all know what she's talking about? Bethania?
Springs.
No, they don't.
It started out being actually Bethania Mineral Spring, and then once they got going, they found more springs, and so it became Bethania
We
Mineral
have
Spring.
a lot of pictures
It
of
was
all
a
of
bottling company, and they
They-
sold pop or sold the mineral
Well, they
spring.
bottled water, and the water never touched the air until you open your bottle.
Well, that was
Because,
pretty clever.
yeah, and when my dad bought it, he restored the trout ponds, and he got all of the cisterns and everything working again, because the piping from the springs underground went into the cisterns next to what we call the pop factory. And then from there, went right into the basement and the bottling plant. So again, the water came from the spring to your bottle, and it never touched the air until you opened it at your home once you bought it.
My grandmother worked there around 1900.
And the president of the Luck Historical Society, Nick Pieszczek's dad, I think, still owns it. And Nick had offered us if we wanted to come down and look at it sometime, we could do it. He said it wasn't in good condition, but he said it was interesting.
That's not true.
It isn't?
And I argue with him no end. It was in complete,
No, now it isn't in good
no,
condition.
it was in complete operating condition when they bought it.
Yeah.
And it was stocked with trout.
Mhm.
In fact, one of the round ponds had walleye in it.
Where is that? Is that
About a
the-
mile and a half south, right along the St. Croix. Have you ridden the train?
No.
Oh, okay. If you ride the train, you'll see the house. It's a big stucco house that looks like a castle. They call it the castle on the St. Croix. And there's a limestone old pop factory right down close to the tracks, because the steam locomotives used to take on water there, and then they sold tanker cars full of spring water and would fill them there too. Wally will let us take a tour sometime.
Yeah.
So this summer I can get a hold of Wally, and he
Yeah.
said anytime we'd want to come,
Yeah.
we could take a tour of Bethania.
Wally, this Nick's dad, gave a talk up at the Luck Museum a couple years ago. He was in the very early Houston space program and knew the astronauts and things like that. So he's an interesting fellow.
Yeah, he was very interesting.
So
But then
that site can be accessed south of town, on a road south of town that goes...
Well, you can drive by it.
You
It's
drive
a
by
private
it,
home, so
yeah.
you don't go and look at it. No.
But you can drive by.
Yeah, you can drive by on Ridge Road. But then they expanded from the water and everything when he bought it. It was a disaster when he bought it. And from the time that he bought the place and the time we moved in, the owners had salvagers come in and rip all the Italian marble out and all of the bottling works out of the pop factory. And when he had his contract, he used to show us that. See, I bought it with, and it was supposed to include everything that was still in that building. And it was all gone. And the trout ponds were a mess, but he restored them all. We used to sell trout, and that's why I know that they were working. We were selling trout to restaurants all over around here all the time. That was my chores, and my sister. We had to feed the fish all the time. In winter, spring and fall, go down that hill and feed the fish. So, but I didn't have to clean them, so my mom had to clean them. So anyways, but then, yeah, have some information there, some pictures of what it is and everything. And again, it would be fun to do that on a nice summer day or whatever, we can arrange for that. Some of the furniture in the living room and the dining room area, again, there's some artifacts from Osceola in there. Very few are original to the house. They're period type of furniture, but nothing that we really have gotten from, left from the Kents or anything. So you're welcome to go around. I don't recommend going upstairs.
But that means it's the most interesting place.
Only a couple at a time, and those stairs are just treacherous. I don't even like going up there because it's like hauling a ladder and everything.
I steal about those.
Yeah. So you can trust me on what we got there, or if there's something in particular you would like to look at.
I think I should take a couple pictures up there so the rest of them can see it. And
Who knows?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
So, it used to be called Osceola Mills,
Mm-hmm.
but the name Osceola, is that like a Native American name?
Mm-hmm.
And what is that? A chief or something?
Tribe in Florida.
Oh, a tribe?
Osceola from Florida.
Oh, okay.
I think there was a more local one too, maybe, because there's an Osceola, Iowa, and I think,
They may have moved
There's
up.
an Osceola Mills, Pennsylvania.
yeah.
I can find that.
It's Osceola, Missouri.
I think the sign, maybe there was a sign that said 1844 is when the town officially got underway here.
Well, Mears and Prices came in 1850.
Yeah.
I think that because St. Croix Falls started
Prices
doing
and
stuff
Prices.
just a little bit earlier, but this was like 1844 when somebody was here.
1846. is what
Maybe.
I'm thinking.
Well, it could be. I'm just trying to remember. Yeah.
Well, I think Uncle Worthy and the Mears came in 1850.
I should know that off the top of my head, and I don't.
Well, you know, Vicki, all you have to say is something, say it with authority, and nobody will ever.
I was here when they came.
Oh, my dad was village president then.
Yeah.
But there's a booklet here too, some scrapbook about Emily Olson and some of the Kents that lived here and everything, so.
Can we look around back there at all?
Pardon?
Can we look around back there?
You